Let's take some of the mystery out of the home buying process. I've been a realtor in the Twin Cities for 30 years, and today I'm answering home buyer questions, especially buyers just entering the market for the first time. Here's Quickie answers to your quick questions about what you need to know to buy a home. These are questions I've been asked many times over the years, and I want to answer them for you. Each one of them, we're going to do this in a kind of a Quickie round version. The first question is, do I have to have 20% down to purchase a home? The answer is no. You don't have to have 20% down to purchase a home. If you have 20% down, that's wonderful. You get to avoid PMI, private mortgage insurance. But if you don't have that, there's no reason to wait for the market. You can buy with as little as 3% down on a conventional loan or 3.5% down on an FHA. If you're a vet and you've served our country, thank you. You can buy with zero down on your VA benefits. There's no reason to wait for saving up 20%. That can take a long time. And what can happen by purchasing with less down, whether it's 3% down or 5% down, you have a home that's appreciating while you're also earning other earnings from your income stream at work. And maybe your jobs are improving, you're getting raises. So over a period of time, you can move from one home to the next by gaining that equity. So you don't need 20% down, but I still get asked a lot of questions like, well, isn't a bigger down payment better? Well, yes, if you have the money, you have the funds available, a bigger down payment is better. It'll make your mortgage payment lower. It might lower your interest rate just a little bit. So there are some benefits there. And the larger the down payment, the less private mortgage insurance will be, the PMI I mentioned. Really, the true answer to this question is what works in your finances. When you buy a house, there's going to be project coming up. You'll need money for improvements on the house. So it's good not to drain your entire bank account to buy a home. If you said I can put 5% down and still have $5,000 in the bank to do some things that might come up, because when you purchase a home, some things will come up. That's probably a wise move. Better to put less down and save some capital. You've heard me mention PMI a couple of times here, and a lot of people ask then, okay, what is this private mortgage insurance? Private mortgage insurance is mortgage insurance you pay protect the lender against foreclosure. They take your loan plus thousands of other loans and package them and sell them off in an insurance pool to protect for foreclosures within that pool of loans. That's the big picture. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to pay private mortgage insurance. I understand. If you put 20% down, you won't pay private mortgage insurance. So think of it this way. Private mortgage insurance is a fee that you pay for the benefit of being able to buy a house with less than 20% down, to buy a house with just 3% down or 5% down. One of the key pieces about private mortgage insurance, it's not forever. When your home gets to a 22% equity position, you can petition the bank to have that private mortgage insurance removed. Private mortgage insurance, the fees on that are really tied to what your credit score is and how much you're putting down. You may pay private mortgage insurance on your first home. You probably won't on later homes. Know that it's a way that you can get into the housing market. Without that, you wouldn't be able to buy a house without 20% down. So think of it as a fee that allows you to buy with less down payment. So you just talked about my first home and my other homes. Well, why don't I just wait and buy a house when I can buy my forever home, the one I'm going to be in for 30 or 40 years? You could do that, but you're going to be missing out on a lot. Each year, typically, homes are appreciating. It's best, as I mentioned before, to get into a home, let that appreciate some, and then sell that to buy the next home and get into your permanent home. It is good to buy a home and stay in it. That's absolutely true, but it's wise to use the appreciation that's happening in your housing market as well as your income streams rising in order to get to that forever home. You don't want to be sitting on the sidelines for 20 years before you buy your forever home. The algorithms on YouTube really want you to subscribe, and I would love it if you would. So if you're liking the information you're getting here, please remember to hit the button and subscribe. So other questions that come up from buyers then, okay, so I should buy a house now. Well, do I make my loan application once I find the right house? No, absolutely not. One of the first things you do after you've picked a realtor, then you should pick a lender to work with. And your realtor can make recommendations on lenders. I have 3 lenders that I typically would recommend. There's links in the description for each of these lenders. When I recommend someone to any of my clients, I can say this: they're people that I can endorse their services, their fees are going to be at or below market, and their rates will be in line and often better than the market. Other questions I get about lending, you go, okay, so I have to use the lender I got pre-approved with? No. If you're working with a good lender, it's a good idea to stay with them. But if you've gotten pre-approved, you're not sure you like the person, things like that, it is okay to switch lenders. Why is it important that I got a lender I like? Can't I just do something online? Well, here's the deal with that. When you're working with a lender, from the time you have the purchase agreement to closing, you're going to be working very closely with that lender. They're going to be asking you a lot of questions. They're going to want a lot of details. They're going to be going through a financial strip search. You'll want to be comfortable giving them the information, because when you give them the information they want, the next day they're going to want more and more. Explain in another video how all that works. But right now, just know it's got to be someone you like and trust. It's got to be someone who really feels like they're on your team. So have a lender that you enjoy working with and you trust. Another question that comes up is, well, the rate that I was quoted at my pre-approval, is that the rate I'm going to have when I purchase? That'd be great. No, sorry, that's not the case. What happens is interest rates are changing all the time. They're moving up and down throughout the course of a day and over longer periods on a trend line. You never know when that trend line might change. You can lock in your loan once you have a purchase agreement on the home. The lock is specific to that house. So once we've got a purchase agreement accepted, then one of the things I'll be saying to you would be, it's time to call the lender and lock in your loan if you like. At least have a conversation with them. Do I want to lock the loan now so I know what my interest rate is? Or do I want to float for a bit and see if rates get a little bit better? Credit and debt is something I get asked about a lot. When I buy a home, I've got a lot of student loans. That comes up often for first-time buyers. And know that, yes, you can buy a home if you have student loans or if you have credit card debt. Not a good idea, and the best idea is to pay down that credit card debt. But you can still purchase as long as your debt to income is within certain ratios. And one of the things we can do is sit down and talk about those ratios to get a picture of how your finances look and where you might be in terms of qualifying for a loan. Here's a question I was asked just last week. Will I have to be on my job for 2 years in order to purchase a home? No, not true. You need to be in a full-time employment position if you have a job. So if you're just hired at a job and you've got a probation period, well, you need to get past that period. Then you're a full-time permanent employee. If you're self-employed, yes, you need 2 years of tax returns in order to qualify for a loan. They're going to average those 2 years to come out with what your real income is. And if you change jobs, as long as it's a logical change, that won't make any difference. So if you're in a field and you get a promotion to another company within that same field or a similar field, then there's no problem. We're coming out of the summer market and going into the fall and winter market. And I a lot of times get asked, is fall and winter a good time or a bad time to buy a home? A lot of people think it's going to be a bad time. Candidly, I think the absolute best time to buy a home is November to the middle of December, if you can find the right home. There's going to be fewer homes on the market, fewer to choose from. But if you can find the right home during that time, a lot of times it's been on the market for a while. The showings have slowed down. Sellers are getting ready. They just want to get it sold. And so that's a great time to get a good buy on a home. Plus, there's probably fewer buyers out there competing against you. So absolutely, my favorite time of the year, November to mid-December, to buy a home. That would be my recommendation. If you're thinking about doing that, now's the time to get into the market and start talking to agents. Please give me a call. I'd be happy to talk with you. Go over your situation, explain how home ownership works, how the home purchase works. Basically, have a time where we talk through and take some of the mystery out of the home buying process. I hope these answers have been helpful, giving you some clarity as you begin thinking about moving into the home buying process. If you're in the Twin Cities, please give me a call or send me a message. Would love to talk with you about home ownership and home purchasing. And remember, in real estate, this bud for you.